Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of the Cold Packet Izzo podcast. On the eve of Dakota Marker Round 21, the Jackrabbits and the Bison set to play in prime time on national television for the first time in the regular season, 7 o'clock, ESPN2. Sold-out crowd. The eyes of the nation will be in Fargo, not on Georgia and Texas. Who
are they?
Yeah, right? We got the Bison and the Jacks. Before we do anything, I can't believe you toughed it out today after the last couple days of signing books that you came in and still podcasted
Oh,
today.
my goodness. Wednesday in Velva, and then with Dot and Randy, and then last night, Thursday, at Mindak Market, and Dot and Randy came down. It was a home-and-home contract. I went to Velva on Wednesday. They came to Fargo on Thursday.
In all seriousness,
I bet we signed about over 300.
Congratulations.
I may
That's really cool.
I may need to find Carson Wentz's wrist surgeon, Dr. Erpelding. He may need. I may need some work.
Maintenance there.
I'm going to be toughing it out tomorrow.
Well, in all seriousness, congratulations.
No, thanks.
That's awesome, and looks like the response has been really good so far.
And I'll say this, on Wednesday, it was a fundraiser for the Velva Library and the Velva Museum, and it was just such a great turnout.
That's awesome.
Raised really good money for both those, and it's just hats off to Velva. What a great little community.
That's gone on the map with what happened there.
It's more than football there. They got it going.
That's pretty cool stuff. So congratulations to Jeffy on that. That's awesome. Let's chat some football. Actually, I'm ready to play this game.
Are you jacked?
I'm talked out of this. Like when we get to Frisco and we do all the previews, like, okay, I'm ready for the football game, and we still have to get till 7 o'clock. But yeah, I've been pining for a regular season night game for a while. It's been 8 years since the last time the Bison have done one, and of all teams, it's going to be South Dakota State here.
So
tomorrow.
You're liking this?
I do. I don't like the fact I don't get to call the game, but I do like the fact they're playing a night game tomorrow.
Okay,
night.
hot shot. Then you just see us during deadline time.
Hey, I'm on the same deadline. The news is on right after the game. So
you watch Mike and I and Eric in the fourth quarter as we're desperately.
I got you. I mean, right there with you. I can't do the games. I'm sitting right there next to you tomorrow night. So, but it promises to be, I would believe, another classic. The last time.
Does it, though?
I think so. I do not think the game in Brookings last year was never close. I mean, the Jacks were up 30-9 at one point. The Bison never sniffed it. The last time they played in Fargo, though, obviously that was 23-21. I imagine that's the kind of football game we get tomorrow.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. And I hope for the sake of the fans and the sold-out stadium and the atmosphere and all that goes with it, I'm just curious now. I think it boils down to this. Is Cam Miller good enough to run the offense with his legs?
Mm-hmm.
And is Nick Kubitz going to play? I think right up the middle.
When he said questionable, Polisic said that leads me to think
middle linebacker, quarterback.
Yeah, I would tend to think maybe not there, and that's a big deal if Kubitz can't play because we know Luke Wirtz is battling a bad back right now, and that, granted, that's not a good scenario.
Staling, we believe, is out for the year.
Done for the year with a shoulder deal. So you might see more Austin Altapeter maybe as the backup at that middle linebacker spot, but that's a definite concern. We already know Dylan Hendricks is not. He's done. He's not playing. So the Bison are already missing two guys up front on that spot.
But I think Toby Anena has shown that he can really.
He's got the frame for it.
He does, and he's had some playmaking ability this year. So I'm not as concerned if you're a Bison fan that Dylan Hendricks is out. Yeah, it's a big loss, but it's not like you're throwing some true freshmen in there.
The Kubitz one is bigger.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
The Miller part, now, when we asked Tim about this on Tuesday, said that he looked better Monday than he did the last Monday, which you would think, Jeff, it was a couple days after the injury. He was still in the boot a week ago Monday. I think he's probably going to be pretty close to 100%.
You think? Okay.
From what I've been hearing from the sources I've been talking to, that he's trending in a better direction. He's going to have to be, like you said. He that mobility is part of his game. It's why he's been so good in 2024.
He's the all-time leader in rushing touchdowns for a quarterback in Bison history, and this is in a program that had Brock Jensen, who was really tough and extremely good runner. Easton Stick, who could run by anybody. Carson was more of a thrower, and Trey just didn't play long enough. But
yeah, Jeff Bentram and Chris Simdorn who could run the football too,
and veer quarterbacks,
right. And Kevin Feeney who could run the ball. All those guys all the
and Harlan Hill winners
all
from
those
Division
guys
II
that could run the football. That's the part that the Bison are not, and you saw it when Cam rolled out, and the first one was the airmail on the pass to Braylon Henderson. I think that was the tip. Okay, and then there was another one where he tried to run out, and he just had no mobility at all last week.
But he was still 18 of 24.
Correct. It's not like he was 7 of 19 last week against SIU. He still was pretty darn good. His rapport now with Bryce Lance, you wrote about this in your 5 Things column. He's turned into the guy. He just threw it up there. Bryce went up and got it on that 27-yard reception in the fourth quarter. That's really good.
And everybody talks about Eli Green last year, and for good reason. Yep. Eli really came on. But Eli led the team in receptions with 45 last season. Bryce Lance is already at 36, and it's halfway through the season.
Yep, he'll double that if he stays healthy. So we're talking, that'd be a Bison record, I imagine. I think Warren Holloway has the single season. That would be
the old car.
Yeah, he would pass that by the way he's been able to get open, and that's something against the Jack secondary. Tucker Large, we're not sure if he's going to play. He's missed the last couple games for SDSU. How good a safety he is on the back end. That's a spot that if you're looking at SDSU, I'm like, okay,
Cale Reeder is out.
Reeder's
right?
out. Beanham's still back there, but that's a spot you look at, okay, maybe the Bison could take advantage on the back end of the SDSU defense.
I need to give props to Randy Hedberg about Bryce Lance. And I saw Randy this summer, and we're just chatting off the cuff, off the record. And I said, well, Eli's gone. Who's gonna be the next Eli? And without a hesitation, he goes, Bryce Lance. He goes, look out for Bryce Lance. He's going to have a big year. And he went on, state a few reasons why. And Randy's spot on.
Yeah, has been so far. So that obviously is factor 1 in 1A in your mind is health of the Bison.
And Randy also said, look out for a couple other receivers too. He thinks Mekhi Collins will be there. And Chris Harris, he said, look out for Chris Harris. He goes, Chris is coming. He's coming. And he has.
All of that is proven. Boy, he's going to get such a big head now. You told him that, and he's right on all 3 of those guys.
They listen to us.
Unbearable on that. You've looked at South Dakota State all week, as have I. Are the Jackrabbits, we know they're good. We know they're talented. We know they're not the 2023 Jackrabbits. How good are they in your estimation?
Well, they're really good. I mean, they're number 1. And I'll just tell it right now. That to me, they are the favorite in this game.
Yes.
Because until I see NDSU,
we had the same reason. Yeah, we had the same reasoning when we beat the Bison. Correct.
It's the other way. Yep.
Correct.
When the Bison had that run over SDSU in those several years,
8 times in a row.
Yeah, yep. and you had to pick them until you see different, because there's something about getting over the hump that's tough in a series like this.
Is it a mental thing, you think, especially with the older guys like an Eli Mostard, a Cam Miller?
Yeah. I mean, it's football, like all athletics, is a lot of it's Sun Tzu, the art of war.
Yeah.
A lot of times the battle is won before it's fought.
The Jacks, that's really good. That's thought-provoking, Kolpak.
I should probably just leave right now. It's about as good as it gets.
Mark Gradowski has been good. He hasn't been great, and I'm wondering if that happens. But you have to look out. Chase Mason, their backup, they're using him in a wildcat type of role. I mean, they were directly handing off to him last week against Youngstown State, and that's a weapon that they have not brought to the they haven't needed it, granted, because they've had the wide receiver threat with the Yankees. That Mason brings another element to the table now.
Yeah, the puzzling stat to me on Gronowski, 91 and 147, which is good, 62%. About what you expect from him. 11 touchdowns, that's good. But 5 interceptions.
2 of them came against Augie, too.
Yeah, that just so doesn't seem uncharacteristic. Now, they lost the Yankees.
Yep.
Big. I think the Yankees were just incredible football players. I mean, I know they didn't make the NFL, and they don't get the Tucker Kraft kind of love or Dallas Goedert or
they were really good.
Mason McCormick.
No, they were really good.
But they were just fantastic college football players.
Yep.
So I think those are 2 big losses.
Pair them with Zach Hines as well, the other tight end, the guy who followed Kraft, and he was really good. Now, the Jack fans would say, well, Kolpak, we got Griffin Wilde, sophomore, who's Sioux Falls kid, and Graham Goring, who's a 6'7" kid that they really like as well, that are the next wave. This all started with Winicky in 2014 when he came off the bus as this true freshman that we had no idea. And they've had 10 years of this now with this unbelievable receiver.
Well, it's good recruiting. They find guys.
Yes.
Yep. And Winicky was the Bison didn't offer
unheralded. No. Nope, Maple Grove kid that just was under the radar that apparently the Bison didn't want or need, and boy, he ended up having a heck of a career at South Dakota State that he left with those 4 years.
I wrote about it this week too, and you could say the same thing for the quarterbacks, because other than maybe Easton Stick, who was highly regarded and heralded and sought after by actually Rutgers and a couple of Big Tens, I mean, Carson Wentz had one FBS offer, was hurt in high school, not really highly regarded. Came here, kind of a skinny 6'5" kid, put on a good chunk of weight, and sat on the bench for 3 years. You look at Brock Jensen, was a Division II recruit at Duluth until the Bison came in late. Trey Lance, as a quarterback, wasn't really heralded. The Gophers wanted him as a D-back.
Boise State wanted him late after he'd already committed to NDSU. We remember that the night before signing day.
Yeah, so there's that, and then Steve Walker came here as a Division II recruit. Yeah. In South Dakota State, Gronowski, nobody wanted him.
No, Gronowski was completely off the board.
Yep,
Chicago kid that just how much Northwestern would love to have had him out of high school.
He had some walk-ons with the Big Ten late, but he said South Dakota State was his only real Division I offer.
And I remember when in the weird COVID spring year, and the Jacks didn't play that one game in the fall like the Bison did. The Jacks were opening up that spring at Northern Iowa. It was a Friday night game, and I remember hearing South Dakota State is going to start the true freshman. I'm like, really? Gronowski's going to play? And we saw him that spring, Jeff, all the way. He led him all the way to the national championship before he got hurt against Sam Houston. He was great. He was great right away for SDSU.
I talked to former head coach John Stiglmeyer this week on Gronowski, and he said, okay, that was the COVID year. Gronowski comes in the fall of 2020, and the season gets postponed until the spring. He said before the first game, sometime, a few weeks once they started practice, a bunch of his players, and Jabari Gibbs was a returning starter.
Yep.
A bunch of the players came up to him, Stiglmeyer, and said, Coach, we want Gronowski to start.
Wow.
We want the true freshman.
Worked out well. They know best. They saw it up close, and he's been tremendous. I mean, last year won the Walter Payton, and it's hard, Jeff, most of the time we've seen the Walter Payton winner be a senior and not Briscoe was the rare. He came back, obviously, for Sam Houston and won it again. But typically, even Trey Lance, he only played the one game after he won the Payton, that you don't see guys who win it come back again. Gronowski is in that rare boat that it's hard to compare. He had an unbelievable year. Everything after that is going to pale in comparison to 2023.
Yeah, maybe. And think about this. He turned down, and that's reported by ESPN, $1.5 million.
Yeah.
$1.5 million he turned down. Now, I think he's getting a chunk of change somehow at South Dakota State.
Your story was awesome, though, that he is in a text chain with other QBs about that. For people that didn't read the story, tell people about that.
So inform.com, if you should be a subscriber.
Right, read it now anyway.
Yes. But he's on a text chain. He was at the Manning Passing Academy. And after that, they got to know each other there for a week probably. But anyway, he's on a text chain with like at least 40 other quarterbacks who were there. And one
guys that Bison fans will know. I mean, there's a few guys here. You
mentioned Matthew Sluka.
You mentioned Undercuffler, Sluka, and Reese Poffenbarger are all in there. Some of our favorite names.
So anyway, he's texting with Matthew Sluka, who was at Holy Cross and then transferred to UNLV in the offseason. And the advice Sluka gave him was, be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful what you want or what you do. Meaning don't trust the whole process. And what happens to Sluka? He's at UNLV for 3 games, doesn't get the $100,000 he figures he was promised.
Yeah, he was owed. Yeah.
And since he had a redshirt year, if you play fewer than 4 games, he leaves.
Yeah.
And so Gronowski, who I talked to this week, said it didn't work out for him. And he figured, I asked Mark, what's your guess on quarterbacks that enter the portal? What percentage works out? And he said 50-50.
Wow.
It's a 50-50 deal.
I think that's what we've kind of always surmised. It's nice to hear actually verified by an athlete, by somebody living it. That's
I would
what
say
we thought.
At NDSU, it's less than that works out.
Yes. At least from the football side of it that we have seen so far, yeah, it is. It's not. Basketball's had a little bit different success rate there when you look at the men's basketball players that have gone. But
Eli, what's he?
Eli Green is still
6 catches?
Yeah, whatever he had, 4 catches, 5 catches in the season opener against UND.
He had 4 in the season opener and didn't get any until last week.
Yeah, it has been great. Siegel's the one. Siegel you look at, You can look at what Josh Hayes had in his second tour again at Kansas State.
I think Jazir Cox had a
good run at West Virginia.
Yeah.
I'd say that Colorado, I haven't felt what's going on with Kobe Johnson at Colorado State this year.
Okay, I guess.
There's Dom Jones, Tony Pierce, that whole group that went to CSU. But for the most part, I really appreciate that. It was a great story that you had with Gronowski, and really, I think for people to open their eyes, like okay, we say it. We've said it for 2 years about the grass isn't always greener. He actually said that to you during the story.
Pretty impressive guy to talk with me as the Fargo guy.
Yeah.
He talked to me like he'll talk to any national guy.
That was good stuff. Now, I look at this game, and the turnovers has been talked to death, but 7 picks, 3 interceptions for the Bison in these 5 games. Some of them at the end of the games, like Cam's trying to make a play that you maybe can write off a couple of them, but some of the fumbles have been the biggies, Jeff. The fumble Cam had early third quarter 2021 in Brookings. Game was tight after that. The Kobe Johnson fumble in Frisco. It's 14-7 Jacks. Bison are moving. Then last year, T-Mac fumbles early second quarter. It's a 7-6 game. Gone after that. That's where these games have completely flipped in my mind.
Really remarkable that the Jacks have had 5 games with 0 turnovers in a hard-hitting physical game.
And that tells you more maybe about where the Bison defense has been at over the last couple of years. Their inability to turn the ball over.
Turnovers don't come to you. You got to force them. Right. You got to make it. You got to make it work.
They've done that this year. They've had ball hawking tendencies. It's been a mirage. It hasn't happened against South Dakota State. That to me is a big deal. And run defense. The Bison have not been able to run the ball against South Dakota State, and their run defense has not been good.
Yeah, last year Tamarick was 33 yards was the top effort for a running back last year.
Ain't going to beat the Jacks with that.
Nope.
That's the thing. When you bet, and I got this stat sent to me. You might know this already. You want to know the last 100-yard rusher against South Dakota State? You know this?
It had to have been Cofield.
Nope, he didn't get to 100. Even he had that 70-yard run, he still didn't get to 100. Earlier than that, 2016.
Bruce Anderson.
King Frazier was here in 2016.
That's the last 100 yet. Wow.
Now, Easton ran for 100 yards in the semifinal, but obviously a quarterback. That's the last time. I even threw out like maybe Seth Wilson. Remember Seth had that big long run in the 2018 playoff
He didn't get to 100?
He did not because he got hurt on that play. It's King Frazier is the last. That again, granted, the Bison won the marker in 18 and 19, but they had elite quarterback play as well.
And I don't know if I see that happening Saturday.
We haven't seen.
We haven't seen a Bison running back break one.
And Polisic's been hammering and hitting the podium every Tuesday about that. We got to break one.
Meanwhile, on the other side, you have Amar Johnson who can break one,
and he's done it against the Bison.
Yes.
He did it down in Frisco. He did it up here in Fargo, and he's the guy now. With Pierre Strong's moved on, Isaiah Davis has moved on. This guy's good. I would. Who might break one? Is Chase Mason, their backup QB. He's every much the athlete I think that Cole Payton is on the other side that the Bison have. That could be look for that tomorrow night. I wouldn't be surprised.
All right.
I'll put my asterisk next to that.
Started with a baseball scholarship at Nebraska.
Right.
And transferred.
He's an okay athlete. Looks like Jackson Dutenheffer will be back for the Bison in the middle part of the defense. He missed last week's game with an elbow injury, so that's good there. But you talk about up the middle with the injury to Kubitz, and we don't know his status for the game. But you look at it, the interior of the Bison defensive line has been really good, especially in Valley play. They're going to have their best game by a long shot.
Bison need a couple breaks. They do. They need to win the turnover margin.
Special teams play, because the Jacks have had that advantage too.
Well, and on NDSU's advantage, they have a kicker who can kick it through the end zone on kickoffs.
Yep.
So Angel Johnson returned one against Youngstown, 99 yards.
Remember last year, Crosa missed an extra point and had a field goal blocked. He had to get pulled out of that game. He was so upset. Remember that last year? That's, again, special. Everything has been South Dakota State's way.
Well, it's all those winning plays. It boils down to that.
And they have not made it.
Nope.
And it starts, frankly, with the quarterback. The quarterback has not made winning plays either. And that's – I'm wondering, we heard it from all the players. You interviewed some. I did this week and Polisic said it. It's been too damn long. We haven't seen the rock. I just wonder, is that something that can be not overplayed, but it can be too much on you? Wow, we want it so badly that can backfire.
No, I don't think so. Once it's part of getting yourself going for the game, but I think once the game starts, are you really thinking about a rock?
How much can the crowd play a factor in this game?
Huge.
I think it'd be a big deal.
Huge.
You know?
If they do make it, I mean, we've seen a couple times where the opening series against UND
did there.
Then after that, everybody's sort of, all right, I'm going to the bathroom.
Right. When it got 14-0, it was donezo. It was not a factor anymore. That can't.
I don't
be
know
the
if
case.
this crowd can do it for 4 quarters. When's the last time you saw that?
James Madison, 2021, and that wasn't a sellout. The semifinal, I'd say they were pretty good that game, but that wasn't even a sellout that night either. I have to remember that. I'd say.
I don't know if the Bison crowd has the stamina to go 4 quarters.
So
Are we at altitude?
Because I've had people ask me about, is the tailgate lot open at 8 a.m.? Like, no. First off, the Dome is owned by the city of Fargo. They're under that mandate. It's opening at 1:30. That doesn't mean that partying is not starting at 1:30.
Jeez, that's a long day. Oh my gosh, we have a long day.
Yeah, I would say. There are probably some on the north side that are probably some businesses that are probably going to enjoy maybe being open at 9 a.m. on Saturday for some customers to get ready. But, yeah, I think on a serious note, the crowd can be a big factor in this. I really believe that. And to be engaged for all 4 quarters, that's something that, gosh, now you got me thinking. Like Incarnate Word was a small crowd. They were loud. I don't know how much that had a factor in the game, but they were loud in that one.
It was a hell of a game, too.
It was a great game.
Yeah.
If you want to go back, maybe the 2018 game, Kleiman's last game here when they played the Jacks. You want to ask me, like last time the crowd was super duper into it? Might have been that one.
Yep.
That's 6 years ago now.
Yep.
It's a long time ago on that. I am intrigued as well, the 2 coaches matchups here. First time, Jimmy Rogers has been through this. He played in it. Polisic obviously coaching it twice before. Now to be a head coach in this, I'm intrigued to see how that chess match plays out tomorrow night, too.
Tim, over the course of the season, has, I think, really separated himself from Matt Ensign in a couple of ways of different styles. He's more apt to get out there on his comments.
Yep. And I also say he's embraced the individual games. Ents, to his credit, always would say it's just the next game. Polisic didn't do that with UND, and he certainly didn't do it this week, Jeff. I thought that was a noticeable change, that this is a big game. We want to win this football game. Matt would always say we want to win the next one, which is fine, but I don't think he ever went out of his way to acknowledge how big it was, and these are 2 big ones.
I was thinking about last week, the SIU game, which seems like 6 weeks ago.
The amount of talk we've had about the Jacks, yeah.
I know, it really does.
Yep.
But in NDSU's title years, they didn't exactly stomp everybody.
No.
There were games that they just didn't get up for. It's just human nature. You got down to UND.
Yeah.
You have SIU who's struggling, true freshman quarterback in his first start. How do you bang your head against a wall? Let's go.
Yeah. Especially knowing full well you're probably going to overwhelm them. Yeah, that's.
You got SDSU next week.
I'm curious beyond this because now we're going to do our first bracketology tomorrow during Bison game day. The winner of this. Likely, and granted, I know the Jacks still have to play USD. That's next week in Brookings, and they still have to go to Grand Forks, which is difficult. The Bison have, I would say, their toughest. Well, Mo State's in the mix too. I got to throw Mo State in there. The Jacks end the season in Springfield. Mo State comes to Fargo.
Mo State can be the spoiler.
I was going to say, can Mo State be heard from? But I guess my larger point question is to you: the winner of this, are they locked into a 2 seed, either the 1 or the 2?
Oh no, you're not locked. I mean, there's still games to be played in this conference for sure.
Because I think Montana State is locked into 1 of the 2. I don't think they're going to lose more than 1 game.
I think they're locked into the 1.
You don't think they're going to lose at all?
No, I just looked at their schedule an hour ago.
Our good friend, former Bison Hall of Famer Sean Fredericks, believes this is Vieg's year. He told us that last week on Bison Game Day that Montana State is the team to beat. They have dusted almost everybody.
Certainly,
so far this year.
The road on one side of the bracket goes through Bozeman.
That's the interesting part. Then, if these 2 teams are put on the same side, the winner of this game could determine where the semifinal is in December.
If the Bison go out to Bozeman, can I ski again?
But my point is, sure, you can go ski. You can go ski whenever you want.
Right.
But in theory, you could project on this that whoever wins this game, the loser may have to go back there in December. And I'm sure the Jacks would love to have the Bison in Brookings.
Certainly a collision course.
Right?
Yes.
I think USD is going to be heard from, though, somewhere, some way, because USD still has to play the Jacks, the Bison, and UND.
There's something about that team that's just scary good, too.
And we talked about it last week. I still don't really know how they done this in such a short amount of time.
They get portal guys? I haven't studied their team.
Their quarterback obviously came from the portal.
But, I mean, from last year.
I don't think so. I think they returned quite a bit. They lost a bit, though, too.
Wow, you know what? Maybe they're developing guys.
Yep.
I mean,
in this day and age, it's a rare deal. Don't forget tomorrow, we got a huge day of coverage. Bison game day at our usual time of 10 a.m. Kyle's going to be back with us. We'll be inside the dome. Might be a little quiet inside the dome, but we'll be there at our normal time from 10 to 11. Then we'll have Bison pregame live at 5:30. That'll be exclusive on WDAY Plus and Inforum.com from 5:30 to 6. We'll be out in the tailgate lot, just like old school times. That ought to be fun at that time of day, right?
No, remember those days when we're sweating the signal, 30 seconds to airtime.
We got it. We're good to go.
Never a doubt.
That's going to be fun. That should be a very fun atmosphere tomorrow. And then, of course, the game starts at 7. Jeff, Mike, Eric will have full coverage. Sam Getzinger will join us as well, or Bison post-game show. We'll have you covered. Complete highlights on WDAY, reaction on Inforum.com, and looking forward to it, Jeffy. This is, in the era we're at in FCS football,
it's as good as it gets.
This is the one game you want to get excited for because next week the Bison go to Murray. And I don't know how to get excited about that football game.
I mean, Northern Iowa's coming here, so that's still got to put some juice.
Let me see what happens on Saturday in Grand Forks with Northern Iowa and UND before I'm really ready to hop on the UNI bandwagon on that because I don't know if that's going to go too well. That'll do it for Jeff Kolpack. I'm Dom Izzo. Thanks so much for listening to the Kolpack and Izzo podcast. We'll see everybody at the game on Saturday.